Hey you guys, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. I am Funky Like Feathers, and tonight we're going to get some words written for NaNoWriMo. So today is November 9th, 2022. So we're going to try to get some words on our manuscripts for today. If you have not gotten any words written, don't worry, we're going to fix that. All right, we've got stuff to do today, right? So we are going to be talking about different writing things, and then we're also going to be setting some timers. So we're going to get some words written definitely during those sprints, is what they are called. So if you haven't done word sprints before, I cannot tell you how important they are. Word sprints are amazing. Make sure you say hi in the comments. Like, leave something. Let me know who you are, because otherwise, I just see a number up in the corner and I don't know who's actually here. So then you just become random like voyeurs, which is awkward sometimes. That's Hank's butt. Very, very seemly. He's very handsome. I have like 3 drinks going on tonight. I am triple fisting the drink situation. This is a chai tea that I made, and then I ended up foaming some milk. So I actually have like hot chocolate sitting here, and then I also have raspberry leaf tea over here with some honey in it. So hello, Susanna. So yeah, I'm well hydrated this evening. So that's one definite thing. Because we talked about this last time, right? We talked about it on Monday, making sure that you stay hydrated as the month continues, because y'all, this is prime time to get sick. Okay. And actually, a friend of mine, sadly enough, did end up falling ill this week. So I am hoping that she gets better, because goodness knows being sick just sucks. And the fact that it's November is like tons of people get sick in this month. But the worst part is that down here in Texas, you cannot count on the weather. It's going to be nasty, right? Good. All right. Susanna's got her water, and actually, we'll see if Go Drink Water comes back tonight. Ray, hey Ray. I also have 3 drinks: cold brew, tea, and water with electrolytes. Well rounded. It's well rounded, right? Yeah, I've been trying to cut down on caffeine because of the whole PCOS thing, which is very, very difficult for me, because usually for something like this, I would just go make, iced coffee because I've got coffee left over from this morning. But sacrifices must be made for life. I want to live. I choose life. So yeah, it's not the easiest transition, but I'm trying. So, and yes, I'm one of those people who leaves the bag in the tea. I know, for shame, for shame. Interesting conversation actually came up earlier today. Hey, Kelsey, nice to see you. Had an interesting conversation with a friend earlier. She was asking specifically about how to kind of get started using a pen name, because she doesn't like her last name. Speaking as someone whose last name is Feathers, I totally get it. Yeah, because anything that I publish with the last name of Feathers, I'm pretty sure it's going to come across as like some really cheesy romance, right? Or like one of those Amish romances, because, feathers are so soft. And I'm pretty sure it would come across as one of those things. And that's not the kind of thing that I write. So I totally understand the need for a pen name. When it comes to utilizing pen names or trying to kind of transition into or Native American, or so, it's actually not Native American, ironically enough. The Feathers name is not Native American. It was originally like Vetters. It was like German. And then when they came over, it got translated to Feathers, right? Yeah, it's one of those situations. Obviously, it's not my maiden name. It's just, this is my husband's last name, and that's the story I got told. So, and we did the DNA thing, and yes, he is German. So, that's where that comes from. But when it comes to like changing the name thing, and like Norris, exactly, I think that's awesome. Absolutely, everybody be like Chuck Norris, right? Like everybody asks the weird questions when they hear last names. It's, for some reason, we do put a lot of power and emphasis behind names, and I don't think people really pay attention to that kind of thing unless they are a writer. I think that's one of the things that as writers, we look for significance in names. We look for meaning, right? And I mean, think about it. How many times have you named a character and their name has a purpose, right? Like the name has a reason that you gave that to them, whether it's the first letter that matters. I mean, like, and honestly, just, and it's like naming a kid, right? Hey, Balmer was just talking about our earlier conversation. Yes, Kelsey, you get a lot of Lizel, right? Exactly, Lizel. Like, it's, or Lizzle. I mean, it's just Lizzle. So shizzle my Lizzle. Like, I'm telling you, there's some of the goofiest things that people come up with. Like, my maiden name, people got wrong all the time because I am, the blonde is natural. Okay. So people would see my last name though and either think I was Asian or that it was pronounced Shine, and it's not. I'm just very pale. Okay. So it's weird when you get those kinds of things, and like literally was accused of not being myself because somebody was like, "But you're supposed to be Asian." And I was like, "No." It's Irish. So those kinds of things are really interesting, right? Okay, so Bomber, I get a lot of wire man or weir man. Exactly. And that's one of the things too that we've kind of discussed about characters and names is that if it fits with the, if their names and everything fit with the world you put them in, and that world is comparable to our world, right? Like if it's kind of, if it's similar or something, it's kind of nice to have names that you don't have to have a pronunciation guide for, right? Try to keep it at least somewhere logical where your reader doesn't feel like they're never going to pronounce it, right? And there's actually a video going around on TikTok right now where they use this yellow book. Okay, if you don't know what this yellow book is, it's Priory of the Orange Tree. And I have not read it yet, but I think it's hilarious that people utilize it a lot because a lot of times in high fantasy, there are names we cannot pronounce. Okay, there are locations we cannot pronounce. And so there are a bunch of videos out now using the background sound of, yes, me and Jibba and Bob, or no, Carl go on a journey to Shimmer, and we go and find that, because that's how we pronounce it in our heads. When we're reading, if we cannot pronounce the names to things, that's how we're pronouncing it. Or we get the first letter. That's it. That's all we're getting. Right? So try to keep names semi-simple. Yes, and Carl. Exactly. That, but because so many times we get names that there's way too many consonants, right? Or there's far too many vowels, and you're like, I don't know, right? Okay, Bomber, it took me forever to learn how Carlisle from Twilight. Yes, yes, Carlisle, right? I mean, like, it can become very frustrating, especially for your readers. Or as a reader, we will just skip over that name. We just know the first letter. However, when you run into books like the Throne of Glass series, my biggest beef with this series is that two cousins have almost the exact same name except for one letter. Seriously, Aelin and Aedion. I mean, like, one is a stick and one is a stick with a circle. That's the only difference with their name. You've got to be kidding me. Like, and so many A names throughout the entire series. It's just so frustrating. So, okay, so Ray, how do we make up a good pen name? In order to make up a good pen name, one, think about your genre. If it is a pen name that you want to be genre specific, then you're going to aim your name towards that, right? So if you do write a lot of fantasy, you might want something with, like, I don't know, Kennedy or Lawson, or, you know, something that sounds kind of serious as a last name, right? However, if you write things that are more like fun and whimsical, and, you know, you might want a name like Majesta, or, you know what I mean? Like, have something that has a little bit of a feel to it. And because just like how we do with our main characters, right? So like in one of my stories, I have a main character who is able to control temperature. So because she can control temperature, her name is Ember, not Amber, right? Like amber is a color, ember is that hot thing in the fire, right? So it kind of alludes to the fact that, yes, we're going to be running into something that has to do with temperature at some point, right? So there's a little hint written in there. Ooh, if you've ever read the the Inheritance games, all right, that girl's name is Avery Kylie Grams, and apparently it to a very risky gamble. Like her name was planned, okay? And you find out later in the book series that that's why she was named Avery Kylie Grams, a very risky gamble. Like that was the purpose of her name, right? It is. It's a great trilogy. Like if you want something that is fast paced, pick up all three at the same time because you'll read through the whole thing over a weekend. I kid you not. It's really, really fast paced, y'all. But names like that had a reason behind them. And as you go through the story, the author kind of reveals those little pieces to you, right? But again, if you're trying to come up with a name for yourself, one, try to make it something that you're willing to be associated with. Let's start there. Make sure you're willing to be called that name because otherwise you're going to be in a world of hurt. And then you're going to want to start moving towards being identified as that name, right? Like it's one of those things where you're going to need to come out with a public page where you are that person, you're represented as that name. You can try to make it something that's similar to your own name. Like I said, because my last name really is Feathers, it that's a hurdle in and of itself. But like for Funky Like Feathers, it's okay. Like I don't mind because I know that it is kind of funny. And I just kind of play off of it. That's part of it, right? But then when it came to trying to come up with like an author name, I came up with one, and I forget who told me to use this name because it's somebody from my critique group. But I used just my first initial. My first initial happens to be a letter T, and then I wanted something kind of gender neutral, just so that you didn't quite know if it was a male or female writing it. And so the name that we came up with was Featherstone. So that way it also, see, it's the play on words because feathers are so soft, right? Oh, so soft. But then stone kind of makes it seem like it gives it a different tone, right? So that's what I'm saying is that if you have a different theme or tone that you want for the books that you write or for the genre that you write, it works well for that, right? So yeah, I mean, like utilize what you've got. See if there's part of your name that you want to keep, or if you want to toss the whole thing and come up with a different one, right? There's a friend of mine who writes under a completely different name for her like whimsical fantasy books, right? So like magic and witches, and the covers are all digital art and everything. It's very cute and fun and bright colors. So she has a different name for that. And I think her name is Magesta something for that one. But it fits the genre, right? But then she has other ones that she writes that are like spooky murder mysteries. That name is not the same pen name for that series. Get it? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Sorry, as a woman, we're not supposed to use that phrase. That makes sense, by golly, it does. But that's kind of something to think about. And again, you're going to want to start building up that public persona so that you have that weight behind it, and make sure that you've got social media out there. Like social media is the way to do this because it is awesome. Yeah, Susanna, yours is a pseudonym. Exactly. So I mean, like that's the thing is that you want to build up everything possible, and as long as it connects with you, as long as you can connect with it and go, yes, that's going to be me, go with it. Go with it. Who's going to tell you no? I think that's one of the biggest things y'all need to consider. Anything you come up with, no one's going to tell you no. Start there. There's no rule. Do what you want. Like, I'm not going to stop you. Y'all crazy. I swear. All right, we're stirring up the hot chocolate because I'm on to the next one. My chai is cold, and y'all, I have a thing about temperature. All right, so I've got a timer. My desk is so crazy right now. I'm not supposed to be buying a bunch of books. Guess what I did today? I bought a book. And because this book came out yesterday. This book came out yesterday, and I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this book. I love this series. It's one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I'm actually rereading it right now and finishing it up. So that came out, but I had to wait until today because when I go to buy the book, which is a local bookstore on Wednesdays, you get a free book. And why would I only get one book when I could get two? Yes, exactly. A free book Wednesday. So I got Murder Your Employer. And it's an ARC, and it does not come out until February 21st of next year. So I'm actually really excited. This is supposedly about like how to figure out who to murder. It's kind of like Hannibal because you're trying to figure out like who would be the best person to murder here in this situation. I think it's awesome. So Bomber, what if it's a family name that you want to use? So use the family name. Who's going to stop you? I'm asking that again. Who's going to stop you? Use the name. So use it. Because even think about it this way too. Even when I use the name Featherstone, that's probably someone's last name. Yeah, somebody's, right? Like there's so many names out there. Or you could be like Phoebe from Friends and call yourself Princess Consuela Banana Hammock. No one's going to stop you. Just do it. No one's like literally. There are literally no rules when it comes to coming up with your own pen name. Do it. Nah. No one's going to stop you. Should I say it again? No one's going to stop you. By golly, goodness gracious. Yes, Kelsey. Book 4. So this is actually stories from the arc of a scythe. So it's not like, I don't think at least. The arc of a scythe goes on. There are still countless tales of the scythedom to tell. Remember centuries passed between the Thunderhead cradling humanity and Scythe Goddard trying to turn it upside down. Just imagine the stories we don't know. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I had to go get that. There's actually also another side book, in case you're wondering, that specifically talks about like between the things. And here's the real cool thing. Okay, so these are the sides on the front, but there's something you don't see unless you open it. Ready? See the space guy? Okay, so that's from like book 3 with the whole Goddard situation and what was hidden and blah, blah, blah. I can't tell you any details. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to do a 15-minute timer. I'm told that you guys can see this correctly, but it's mirrored on mine, so it looks like 12. But there you go. See, 14, 15. All right, so we've got 15 minutes on the timer. Open up your documents. Get ready. Let's get everything set up because we're going to start typing and getting some words on the page. I know y'all are here for like my singing voice. That's fine. All right, y'all ready? 15 minutes on the clock. Ready to go? It'll beep when it's done. And scare the crap out of me. If you can hear that, that is my child playing Fortnite with her father, and he's upstairs. Yeah. about 9 minutes. Finish up your sentences. And then get your word count. Get your word count, and let's update the NaNoWriMo website so that you don't forget to do that. Okay. All right, word counts. Highlighting, shifting arrows. Let me know how you did. That was 15 minutes. So easy way to gauge your time. All right, let's go to the Nano website. Update word count on the correct keyboard. That's important. Okay. This is George. You see a little snout come up. Oh, all right, Kelsey. Forget to look at what it was before we start these things. That's part of the hard work. So what I do usually is I give myself some space. You'll see me go click, click, click. I'm hitting the enter button or return, whatever it is on your keyboard, specifically just to kind of give myself some space between the sections that I'm typing. And then that way it kind of just, I know where I'm starting and stopping. So even if you're on a Word document, just having a little bit of space just for the time, because when it comes to doing your reread or whatever, it's easy just to delete those spaces. Dark Academia, welcome back. 360 words, sweet. That is awesome. That's a nice number. It's a number of degrees in a circle. See, train of thought, y'all. Train of thought. Are y'all feeling good on that one? Yeah, okay, Ray, that felt the longest 15 minutes ever. And I got 467. What? Did it feel like a treadmill minute? Was it a microwave minute? Bomber 401. Yeah, so the hard part about sprints, and I wish I remembered who it was who did this. There is a writer who is friends with Kate Kavanaugh. If you don't watch Kate Kavanaugh on YouTube, you're missing out. She's a lot of fun. And she has a friend who is also a writer. And so, but she does like hour-long sprints. Hour-long sprints. Hour-long sprints. Like, what? Kelsey, 394, sweet. It's like, so this is why we talked about the Pomodoro technique last time. And there's tons of people online who do different kinds of timer setups just to make it so that, again, you have these little spurts of work that you're doing. And other than that, you take a break and get up and leave. Don't get up and leave right now. I mean, we're here, we're in this at this point. But I mean, that way you're not overly trying to focus on something for too long, right? Like an hour-long sprint, to me, that's not a sprint, that's a marathon. Like my brain, I will end up doing 1,000 other things. Now, if you just want me to work for an hour, like I can do that, but to me, it's not going to be a sprint at that point, right? Just far too long, right? I don't know, but it was forever. Okay, then that makes me think of The Sandlot, right? Forever, like that movie. That one line will always stick with me. My ADD says hell no to that. Yeah, I mean, it just, I can't. An hour. I don't know what I can focus on for an hour besides reading. And that's because stuff is moving along, right? Even earlier today, I've got my headphones in. I'm listening to a book, but I'm also vacuuming at the same time. Like I'm already trying to do more than one thing at a time. Dark Academia, Kate is awesome. I think I would get anxious towards the end of an hour-long sprint. Exactly. I mean, at that point, I'm looking at the time. Now, every time you guys hear me say how much time is left, it's because I'm glancing at the timer. I touched my glasses. I can't touch my glasses. These are my least favorite glasses. They get so dirty so fast. Anybody else have glasses like that where it's like, for some reason, they just always end up dirty? Oh, so frustrating. Okay. There we go. All right, there you are. So yeah, I don't know how people focus for that long, but again, the original Pomodoro technique was a 25-minute timer of actual activity, and then you had a 5 to 10 minute break. and then you came right back. Now, 5 minutes when you're on a break goes way faster than you realize because that's like a potty break, in case you're wondering. 5 minutes is like up and we're back. So this is also, though, a really important time to keep in mind that you should be staying active at some point during the day, because you really do need to kind of keep your body going, because sitting and writing can be very, very difficult. Now, actually, was it last year or the year before? But Yoga by Adriene, or Yoga with Adriene, has everybody heard of this channel? And actually, Kate Kavanaugh did a thing where she was working through this program with Yoga with Adriene. But she has yoga specifically for writers, and it's a 30-day program. So like you can do it one a day during Nano. And it's just really good stretches and stuff to kind of like get out of your chair and stretch out in like your shoulders and everything, like to move around, because y'all, sitting in these chairs all day, it's not that fun, right? I do love my chair. I think it's from like the 70s or something. I have a wooden chair. Hey, Charlemagne, it is an old wooden chair. That's what you hear all the time. It's a really old wooden chair. It rolls, it swivels, but I do sit on a pillow that has an octopus on it because I do love octopuses. So yeah, I mean, like we sit in these chairs all day, and especially writing, no matter where you are, you're always hunched, right? And you don't want to be like, because that's just weird. And talk to text, I've never been able to get it to function properly. So it's very frustrating sometimes. All right, Darkademia. I do yoga with Adriene every day. Exactly. Ray, I love yoga with Adriene. She's Austin based. Yeah, I mean, she's really cool. Bomber, sitting down forever sucks. I agree. Kelsey, I sit on a pillow. Susanna sits on a pillow. I'm telling you, actually, I think somebody got me this pillow. My friend Allison got me this. That's not right. All right, here's my octopus. That's what I'm sitting on. There are octopuses everywhere around my office, in case you're wondering. I have them on my coasters. So my coaster has an octopus. My mouse pad has an octopus. My phone holder is an octopus. I can't make this up. It's really cool. I think this guy is Czechoslovakia or something. He's like in another country. It was awesome. But he's in one of the octopus groups that I'm in. He hand makes these to hold your phone. How does it hold your phone, you wonder? That is how it holds your phone. So yeah, I have octopuses all over my office. Yes, my pillow does have a monocle. And then I have an octopus up here that actually Ray made for me. She 3D printed an octopus for me. Sent this in the mail, made me cry. That was awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff around my office, but you will find a lot of octopuses. But you definitely need to be taking care of yourself, because yeah, like our shoulders get hunched, and like I tell people all the time, I'm like, move your shoulders back, man. Like separate your neck from your ears, or your shoulders from your ears, because everything just starts to kind of do this as you sit for a long period of time. Especially because we have our hands in front, and that's not actually how your body is built to sit. Your body is built to have its arms on its side, right? This is why dogs don't walk standing up, because their legs aren't meant to do that. Their legs are meant to be down in front, right? So yes, like pay attention to how your body is, and like try to make sure you keep your arms where they're supposed to be, out on the side. And typing is the complete opposite of that. And especially when we're sitting there thinking or whatever, we always kind of lean on the desk, right? So your back is hunching again. Y'all take care of yourselves, okay? I don't want y'all to be sick like my friend Maria. Yeah, so while we're talking, drink, everybody. Drink up, stay hydrated. I mean, this is hot chocolate, but still. Take what you can get on that, right? Don't worry, I have water-based tea right here. I'm still staying hydrated. So yeah, I mean, like all this kind of stuff comes into play when we are working on all of our working projects, right? How many projects are you working on? By the way, somebody asked the question in my local group. They were like, what do you guys do if you have these other ideas to suddenly work on another project? Do you work on that other project, or you just stick to your current project? Like how do you handle this? And I was like, I follow the bunnies. If I feel inspired to write something else and it's nano, I will write that something else. Now, when I'm working on a regular project and like I'm able to focus on that main project, I'm able to focus on that. And like crazy ideas that come up, if I can find a way to relate it to my main story that I'm working on, I will write that scene and relate it to the current story. But if there is like just stuff in my head, I will just write that stuff that's in my head. Right? Because it might be something that you can come back to later on and utilize for a different story or a different scene, because sometimes it's a tone that just is something that just feels like, ooh, I just want to write something like this, right? If you're in the middle of writing a high fantasy or a historical fiction, and suddenly you want to write dark academia dystopian, and it doesn't fit the world that you've created, okay, take a moment, write the side scene on it, and see if you can fill that in, right? All right, so Ray, start a new project, still kind of working on the original. Yep, same. Kelsey, I have a little project page to jot down ideas. I like how that's in quotations, but I stick to my my one. It would overwhelm me and I'll get lost so easily. Yep. Kiva, thanks for joining. Like better late than never, right? That's amazing. I'm glad you're here. So yeah, there's so many different things to consider when you are working on a nano project, because again, the whole point of nano, yes, you want to try to finish that one manuscript, and it's awesome when you can. But other than that, part of this is also just getting into the habit of writing and being creative and showcasing, all of those cool ideas that come into your head the rest of the year when you don't write. Because y'all, how many of y'all are guilty of not writing for the rest of the year and only writing when nano comes around? Yeah. So, I mean, because like my day job is freelance editor. I'm not usually the one writing, right? So, but when nano hits, that's when you get my writing, right? So follow whatever the muse tells you to do. All right. If the muse is like, hey, let's work on our main project today, then hey, work on the main project today. But if you just cannot focus, see how much you can write, how much you can get out of your head, and then do some things to get yourself back on track. Go for a walk, go for a run, do a workout, take a shower, take a nap, read something, go cook something, right? Because then you have food. Batch cook something so you've got food, and then come back and be like, all right, can I refocus on my main project now, right? Because Ray, why you got to call me out like that? I'm just saying, like, I'm not just calling you out. I'm saying we're all like, we're human, so this is part of the experience of working on this. And if you are a writer as your main job or your main project of what you do, then yes, you're going to have constant ideas. You may run into, writer's block, which is the dun dun dun. Like that's like a scary thing, right? But this is part of it. When you do have a bunch of ideas going around, that's great, right? And so you don't want to lose those amazing ideas. So use what you can, like jot down something if, you just want to not focus on that, then write down the main parts of it just so that you can remind yourself later on of what that cool idea was. So maybe it can work for a different project, right? Kelsey, me hoping this kicks my butt into gear. Yeah, good luck with that, girl. But one of the other biggest things during nano to learn is consistency, and that's one of the hardest things. Like I said, I think that a lot of us have issues with consistency if the only time that you write is during nano. So learning these new habits to get into makes it a little bit easier for that writing habit. You know that you can fit it into your regular schedule because you do it during nano, right? So that's why I want you guys to have as healthy and well-rounded of a nano as possible, to showcase that you can fit this into your everyday life, even in other times of the year, right? All right, let's do another 15-minute sprint. 15 minutes on the clock. Ready? Open up your documents, pull your stuff up, push your enter key if you need to so that you get a little bit of space before you start writing again. Ready? Don't worry, I'm just waking it up. Ready? Look, that's you guys. Oh, hello. Ready, set, go. 10 minutes. Finish up your sentences. All right, and then get your word counts. Oh. I keep trying to use my mouse. It's with the other computer. Okay. Go to the Nano website and update your word counts. Whew. Okay. Got my words for today. All right. Get something to drink. Stay hydrated. So something else to consider while we're all writing and everything this month. Who is also trying to read something? Is anybody reading this month? Because I started off the year with a goal of 50 books, right? The goal was 50 because I wanted to read like regular books, not just like children's literature that I teach for literary analysis and stuff. So I figured I wanted to read like 50 regular sized books. And I surpassed that in like late summer. So now I want to read 100 and I'm at what, 87 now? I'm kind of low. Yes, I'm at 87. So now I have like a month and a couple of weeks where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I could finish 100 books in 1 year. Yeah, but that also means that like I've got to like ramp up the amount that I'm reading. Oh, Kelsey 388, awesome. Bomber, you've started 2 novels. Yay. Kiba 577, very nice. Bomber 423 and 78. Ray 439 this time. Oh my goodness, yes. And then making art pieces for an art show in December. Yes. Maybe freaking out a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Right? This is part of the reason I keep trying to explain the fact that like when it comes to doing nano, it has to be something that you just kind of integrate into life. Because unless you are retired, right? Or do not have like a regular job that you need to be doing, or other projects that you focus on. Like if you just have the time and you're like, it's whatever, right? Like it's something that you have to try to mix into your day. It's not the easiest thing to kind of like come up with this new obsession for 1 month. Oh, Dark Academia, 569 words. I worked through a plot hole and the scene wrote itself. Yes, that is amazing. Oh, the feeling when everything just starts to align. Oh, it's scrumptious. That's amazing. Congratulations. Kiva, I haven't read anything in a while. After so much time as a critic, it's hard for me to enjoy books anymore, sadly. You know what? Okay, so honestly, so I have my own book club, right? I have my own online book club. It's called Book Nerd University. And this month, it's an online one. So we meet once a month online. And this is the book that we're reading this month, For the Wolf, right? I'm very excited about this. I am, because I will show you, because I showed you where my bookmark was the other day. Here's where my bookmark is. All right, so it's moved, right? Very proud of myself. So yeah, so we're discussing this month. So I am going to be reading that one. But like I said, like it's just because like literally what I do is editing. It's very difficult sometimes to just kind of sit back and enjoy certain books when other people do. It's not as simple for me because that's literally what I do. It's like critique work. And it's funny too, because actually I went to a book club meeting at a local bookstore and somebody commented about the fact that, you know, I always have something negative to say about a book. And I'm like, well, yeah, like to be expected. But at the same time, you know, at first it was kind of like, well, of course, you know, but then somebody else jumped in and they were like, oh, by the way, I actually really like the fact that she points some of these things out because they didn't notice things and they thought that they just weren't reading it properly as a reader. And I was like, it's not you, it's the writing, right? So we recently read, it's a very popular book, actually. Where is it? No, no, no. Oh my goodness, where did I put it? Oh, it's up there. Okay. We actually just finished this book, which is a very cute book, right? But there are some plot holes in it. There are some things that just are underdeveloped. And then most of the females in this book, 90% of the females, all have an A at the end of their last name. Why? But it was something that like they didn't realize until I pointed it out. And I was like, as an editor, it's my job to pay attention to things like that. Right. And so like that seems strange to me when everybody has the same letter at the end of their name. Like why? And why is it all the girls? Right. So then also there was just a lack of like character development on certain characters. And so when the ladies was like, yeah, I thought I just couldn't tell who the different characters were. I thought it was me. And I was like, it's not you. The author didn't develop them enough. So that's why you couldn't tell them apart. Because I was like, it took me a while too. So it's interesting to hear things that people say. Like I actually just did a short little review on this red and gold one back here. It's called The Library Book. Yeah, I did a quick little review on that. It's on my TikTok as well. And it's interesting because finally people get to come out and say what they did and did not agree with. And there is actually another TikToker I love because she doesn't only post positive reviews. It's actually very refreshing when people are just honest with you. I have to say, it's the little things in life, right? Ray, the one we are reading now is driving me a little crazy with the constant use of certain words. So I feel a little like you. All right, so this one, right? This is the one that we're reading. If you do want to sign up and be in the online book club, by the way, you can get in on the book club at Patreon/FunkyLikeFeathers. So it's called Book Nerd University. It's very cool. Very excited. We do have our own logo, in case you're wondering. It is an octopus. It's an octopus. Book Nerd University. There it is. And if you're local, you can get the books for a 10% discount at Buy the Book. And I put stickers in the books every month. And then Kiba, that's a running them in my current project. The male lead, a writer, is learning to embrace his own imperfections. See, these are the things that like we all look towards literature for certain life lessons, right? Like we want that kind of thing because it makes the characters feel real. And this is part of the reason that we talk about as you are building characters, like they need to have flaws. They have to have flaws. They need ticks. Everybody has a tick. And y'all, you may not know what your ticks are, but you have ticks. Okay. Something that may not seem like a tick. I swirl the end of my pen on my fingers, and I do this all the time. Okay. There's a reason I always have my hair back because I will twirl my hair. That's right. I twirl my hair. There are things like that that people do that they don't pay attention to or realize. So ask somebody if you don't know if you have a tick or whatever. Ask because everybody does. It's weird mannerisms that we have. You want to know that there's something inherently flawed in your character, like internally flawed, because that makes them feel real. We need things like that, like scars. Like everybody has random little scars. You should have one on your character somewhere. And if you want to introduce the backstory, great. Plop that into the plot somewhere, right? Kelsey, I look forward to the editing process with an editor, but it also terrifies me for good reason. And, you know, and you're not alone because editing, getting a project back from an editor, we try to be as, you know, positive as well as honest at the same time, or at least I do, right? So when you get your manuscript script back, there may be colors all over the place and, you know, a coding system that tells you what all the colors stand for and there's writing everywhere and everything. But I also give you like a summary of like some of the things you did really well so that you can see the balance between it. And if it needs like, you know, a lot of work, I'm going to tell you that because the editors, we're here to make your work as good as possible. We want to make it tell the story that you intended for it to tell. So if we're telling you that the wording tells something totally different, then listen to your editor because the words are, I mean, they're there. If it implies something else, I will tell you that it implies something else. So let's see. Kiba, the female lead, tells him perfect is boring. Once you're perfect, and there's no reason to continue trying anymore. I'd rather read 100 imperfect books than one perfect one. That is a beautiful line. Beautiful. Love it. Kelsey, afraid they will just look at me and say, burn it and quit it. Okay, no editor will ever do that. And if they do, you fire them on the spot. Step one. I have had projects where they were sent to me and I literally was able to read a few pages and then I sent it back. Just because it needed like a full rewrite. And so the sections that I did work on, I edited completely, but I let them know that like, this is going to take a very, very long time to get through. And if you just take these, edits and this feedback that I gave you for these first few pages and apply that across the board because they're ongoing issues, let's apply that across the board and then come back to me. And so that's often what an editor would do. Now, also, don't forget, you can ask editors for samples. You can ask for samples of their work. So you can send them, and say, hey, how many words will you do a sample for? And usually it's like anywhere between like 500 and 2,000 words. You send us that, we will edit that section and then we'll give it back to you with feedback. So if you want to know, just to dip your toes into editing and see what it feels like to get that kind of feedback, contact one of us and we'll give you that kind of thing. It makes it a lot easier. Okay. Yes, Susanna, Kelsey, we did too. It was terrifying to give over the work, but she cares about the success. And a lot of what she did was uplifting. So, I mean, that's the thing. So Susanna is one of my clients. And yes, I mean, like I have read multiple manuscripts. They're great. And again, it's just, you're going to get a bunch of feedback, right? And that's part of the important part of the writing process, that feedback. Kelsey, I want the help. I know that I need it. And that's what's exciting, making shapely fiction. Okay, so and here's one of the things too. When I first attended a critique group, I showed up, I read them a snippet of my work, and then I immediately was like, all right, let's rip it to shreds. And everyone was like, oh my God. And I'm like, but if you don't tell me what's wrong with it, like I can't make it better. Right. And there actually was a time, and Susanna can tell you about this. I actually stopped them one time because I had gone to 3 critique meetings and nobody had really given me anything to change in my manuscript. And I was like, there is 0 chance that I wrote like 6,000 words that were perfect. Absolutely no way impossible. And I was like, and if that is, the lack of feedback, that's what's gonna happen. I was like, I will leave because I'm like, you guys, like, I need that feedback. I can't make it better unless you tell me what's wrong with it. Right. And so like, I actually felt like disrespected. I was so upset. And so Susanna was like, oh my God, oh my God. She was like, no. If you want us to give that to you, like, okay, we will. And I was like, thank you. It's like, I really do want that kind of feedback. So my usual rates, most people are commonly looking for like copy edit, like line editing, just like grammar and general feedback. That I usually charge $35 an hour for. And I do it by the hour because it depends on the manuscript. It just depends on how much work it needs and stuff. But again, there's different kinds of editing. There's developmental editing, which is like a super deep dive where we really make sure that all the plot holes are filled in and everything is developed all the way. Then there's copy line edit, which is your most common type of editing. And then there's proofreading where all of that other kinds of edit is already done. And it's just a quick read, just to make sure that the final things are done before it goes out. So actually, I was reading this book earlier today, and there are a couple of things in it where an editor just didn't get a proofread done, I can tell, because there's still some typos in it. And it's an awesome story. I'm loving it. But there are a couple of typos that I have found in that. And she's a popular TikToker. So it's interesting reading it and then seeing little things come up. It's kind of fun. What is wrong and what is right? Exactly. Like you need to know what you're doing correctly as well, because that lets you know that, hey, this is a good idea. You need to continue doing that. So if you have ever seen me in person or I mean, not just generally in person, but if you've seen me do writing workshops and stuff, which I do rather often, you'll see me with this notebook, this big bright orange one with all the little post-it notes popping out of it. This has a bunch of writing resources in it, and I actually just added a couple today, but I've also got like these notes. This is because it's critique feedback from reading. So they, people would read their manuscripts and we'd write down notes of what to tell them, right? And then, but I've got tons of writing resources in here, just a bunch of stuff to keep myself on track of like what I'm doing and focus on the project at hand and references and stuff. So like active versus passive voice and examples. I put that in there today. And then like here again is like feedback from some people's readings. But I mean, the 12 archetypes, y'all, I mean, seriously, the 12 archetypes, those go in there. So when we did all the workshops during Preptober, where we talked about all these different things, this literally is what I carry with me. It has a bunch of different notes and resources in it, just so I can reference them while I'm editing or while I'm writing a manuscript, just so that all of it I can check 1,000 times, right? Um, and that's one thing with editing too, is that you need more than one round, because the first round is just the editor, like, big view on that, going, okay, here's the big things I see that need to be fixed. They're going to suggest things to you. It is your call as an author, as the writer, about whether or not you actually want to change that. And then you send it back to the editor. We do kind of another round to make sure that everything still reads correctly. If there's any final things that need to be done, or, any like in-depth conversations that need to happen about different concepts, and then we send it back to you. So just to make sure that everything kind of gets finalized. So do kind of keep that in mind too, is yeah, we want to help you guys make really awesome books, because I know a lot of people really like this, and it's a very cute story, but for me it was lacking. Especially if you've read The House on the Cerulean Sea. This is a watered down witchy version, is what I call it. And literally it's what I said on TikTok too. It's a watered down witchy version of House on the Cerulean Sea. But it was fun. It was a fun read, but it wasn't as good as the other one. And there's a lot of things that they could develop more. So when you are writing your story, that's some of the things to focus on too. And this is why we say, really plan out the story before you go writing it, is because there are a lot of details that will need to be filled in. And ask a kid. Fun story. I wrote a book. I had been spending like 2 years on this story. And I sat down, I told my kid about it. She was like 9 at the time, I want to say. But I'm sitting there telling her about the story, and I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of the gist of it, blah, blah. And then she asked one question, and she just ripped the carpet out from under that story. There was a huge chunk of information missing, and I didn't put it in the story because I hadn't paid attention to it. And this is a story that I had read to multiple adults multiple times, and none of us caught this. But yeah, talk to a kid about your story. They'll tell you what's wrong with it. In 5 minutes, they'll just be like, whoop, and whatever, because they will ask the questions. And that's the most important part, is having a third party ask the questions. So this is also why we say, when you're trying to build those characters, talk to them in the mirror, right? Or take a personality test as that character or something. Get out of yourself to separate yourself from the project, because we often get too close to it, where we don't zoom out and really take our time to structure the story as well as we could, right? So this is also part of the reason that I have shown, this one? Yeah, where I've shown taking, just big chunks of sections to bullet point your story, so that you can really see the far off part of it, of what needs to be happening. Just kind of bullet point the story so that you can break it down, as opposed to getting too caught up in the minutia, one of Ray's favorite words, that it's so accurate. So you don't get caught up in the minutia of the story, all the tiny little details. Remember to zoom out and really look at important stuff. So even when I'm reading a manuscript, I will be keeping a bullet point list of the events that happen, just to make sure that I have a little dashboard for myself to remember where everything is, right? And then that way you can keep track of things a lot easier. Kelsey, I use my kids all the time for it. They give me great feedback. I'm telling you, kids are great resources for this. They will look outside of your spectrum for your story before you will. And again, as an editor, that's part of what I do, is I kind of look at things from a broader perspective. And that's part of also the reason that I read so much, is so that I can understand genres and character building, and use different examples from different books as kind of examples and backup for different things that may come up in your story as well. So that's part of it too. And I just love reading. I just love books. I'm like that character from You've Got Mail, right? Kathleen Kelly, who owns the shop around the corner. Her love of literature and books, that's my thing. And I love getting people back into reading. That is my thing. So if I can help you make your story better, that's what I'm here for, right? But that's why we want to build up all of this stuff beforehand, is so that when it does come to writing your story, you're just good to go. right? Like you already know what kind of needs to be included. This is now, if you are writing your story and you're like, oh my goodness, how do I do this kind of thing? There are tons of free resources over on my Patreon page. They are free to access. You don't have to pay for membership to my Patreon page to get those resources. You can print them off, you can save them to your computer, whatever it is that you need to do to help you kind of break down your story. They're over there. Like seriously, like go grab whatever it is that you need. Print them off. I don't care. Kiba, I can't really give my kids my stories to kids primarily because I may be put on a watch list for it. Now I really want to read it. That just sounds amazing. Hashtag raise them nerdy. Right. So when are you opening your own bookstore? I actually have plans later on in life to have a bookstore or at least supersize my little free library. So I do have a little free library. I am the librarian for that. I love doing projects with that. I just love sharing books with kids and adults and everything. Paige, hey Paige. I have learned I am definitely better off as a planner in terms of actually finishing NaNoWriMo. I'm telling you, as frustrating and as labor intensive as it may seem, the planning process can be a huge help when it comes to getting down to the nitty gritty and just writing your project. There are so many things that can be smoothed out and just you can just enjoy the writing process at that point because you know where you're at, right? And you can just, you've got your scene cards and you're good to go and you know what's supposed to be happening in that scene and you can just hear what the characters are saying and you go, right? And by having those main scene cards and having kind of your story laid out, you can leave the breadcrumb trail. And this is one of the biggest things that we talk about. If you have a mystery, if you have a romance, if you have a thriller of any kind, anything that needs to have like little clues along the way where you build up to a main point. And this often happens, like if you have any kind of climax in your story, there should be some kind of breadcrumb trail with information that gets you there, right? So that your reader is not blindsided, so that everything kind of makes sense by the time you get to that climax. You don't want the climax to just be completely irrelevant at that point, and people will be like, "Oh, well, I guess." Like the clues have to be there, right? So by getting that zoom out section to really look over your entire layout for your story makes it a lot easier to go, oh, hey, post-it note, hey, don't forget to add this little, this detail into this scene at some point and just stick it with that. And then that way, when you're going through your scene cards and that's what you're writing, you know that that detail needs to be included somewhere. Makes it a lot easier in the long run. Paige, yep, I'm just winging it fresh from my brain. And I mean, I'm 10K in, but I'm supposed to be at 15. So that's, again, part of the thing is that trying to make sure that you stay consistent with your writing, to make sure that you stay with those ideas that you have. Anytime you have an idea, the main goal is hitting 50,000 words. However, you want those to be quality words, right? So if you don't hit the 50K, don't freak out. If you have quality 10K at the end of Nano, that's fine. Or if you want to attempt a 10K in a day, and I say this every time, but I'll show you guys one of my stickers. If you want to attempt 10K in a day, there is a Write 10K in a Day group on Facebook. Here's one of my stickers from December. This is from what, a year or two ago? But yeah, they send you free stickers for writing 10K in a day. If you want to attempt a 10K in a day to try to boost your numbers, try it. Trying not to be sad about it. Don't be sad about it. There's no reason to be sad about it. They're just words. Don't let the numbers win. That's what I say to my kid when she's doing math. Don't let the numbers win, okay? You are bigger than the numbers, all right? Do not worry about that. You want quality over quantity. Don't worry about it. The 50K is just kind of an elusive number that we toss out there, right? It sounds cool, 50K in 30 days. That's it. Paige, but I also went a slightly different genre that I'm used to. It's definitely a romance, but it's modern and not fantasy, and I'm supposed to have a dark feel. Don't worry. Write the story that's coming out. Write the story that's coming out. If you want to do small rewrites in certain scenes to give it a different tone or theme later on, that's fine. If you really want that other tone, you can get that later. Right now, you just need the primary information of the story down. Do not freak out about the details at this point. Bummer. Ray, don't be sad. I'm there with you. Exactly. Paige obsessed with that sticker. Same. That's why I don't know what to put it on yet. Susanna, Ray, all words are worth it. Exactly. That's the thing, is it's like every single word you guys write is more than what you had when you first started sitting down to write. All right. Ray, don't let the numbers win. I do feel like the words I have written can actually turn into something worth reading. That's what we're here for. That's it right there. Something worth reading. That's all that matters, right? So you guys keep writing, keep focusing on just doing little sprints, right? Set a timer on your watch, on your phone, 5, 10, 15 minutes, nothing really too long so that you can stay nice and focused, stay hydrated. You've got this, right? Kiba, I'm torn. A side character who's supposed to help get the two primary leads together is starting to become my favorite. This happens a lot. This happens a lot where that secondary character trumps the primary character and then you just start running with them. Yeah, we've all seen it happen. Consider what is happening in the story, considering whether or not you want that secondary character to become a primary character. Should they take over? Should they not? These are things to consider. Maybe you need to write a scene where they are a main character just to get it out of your system. That's possible too, because remember, Nano is about getting the words out. Don't worry about deleting it. Don't worry about that. You can set that aside. But as long as you write the scene that you need to write, that's what's going to matter, right? So don't freak out. It's going to be fine. Write the scene if you need to know it. Other than that, you don't have to put it in your manuscript in the last part, or you can switch the characters around and try to make it so it's back around about your primary character. There's always a way to work around it, okay? Biggest thing you need to know about writing, nothing is ever just flat out wrong, okay? You can always do this. It is customizable. It is your story. It's nobody else's. These are your characters that you created out of literally nothing. It's magic. Right? Like it's literally magic, you guys. You're already doing a lot better than you realize, okay? Paige, you could probably see where they take you during Nano because, hey, it's words and what Funky said, you don't have to put it in there later. It's a part of learning the character. Exactly, right? Write the scene, allow it to be there, get it out of your head, process it, and see if you can use it later. But it doesn't have to be part of the last. Yes, brain blast. Haha, perfect. You're on the right road, you guys. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. It is about 7:30 my time, so I'm going to go try to clean up all the dishes from all the drinks I had at the table and recharge all of my devices. So don't forget to recharge your laptops, iPads, whatever it is. Make sure that you're charging and organizing your document. Exactly, Dark Academia. Need to organize my document. It's a mess of fragmented scenes, completely out of order. Don't worry about it. You're going to worry about that after Nano, okay? You can start organizing that in December. Right now, just worry about getting it out. All right. You guys keep up the amazing work. Don't forget to update your word counts. You can earn those electronic badges over on the NaNoWriMo website. Stay involved in your local regions. I will be back here on Monday as well as Wednesday next year. Oh, Ravina. Oh, man. I will see you guys in person on Friday because we do have a local meetup Friday evening. If you're local to my region, I will see you guys there. Other than that, I will be back here on Monday and Wednesday of next week. And I always have daily prompts on TikTok, the local Facebook page, as well as my YouTube channel for your writing prompts. They are here every single day. I pull them out of a bowl. So stay in for those as well. And I will see y'all on the next one. Bye, you guys.